it's Kasha Gage. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on Story 5 in my 2022 December daily album. Now I'm going to just recap a little bit before we get started. So yesterday, pull this over here, I ended up creating a couple of things. So I used the opportunity for another full page photo, added a white chipboard, a shaker pocket, and a photo of Henry under the tree, and then journaling where I ran this through the Mink machine in another photo. So I know I probably mentioned in that video, yesterday's video, that this paper is pretty delicate and it's already ripped. In hindsight, I probably should have used one of these like tabs. This is from Citrus Twist Kit. Allie Edwards might sell them in her shop too. I know she had them at one point in time. I should have probably put that on the paper and then slit it accordingly. But because I've changed my mind, I want this photo and the journaling switched. So when that specialty vellum comes in that I ordered, I'm just going to pull everything off and re-adhere it, and you guys will see that when it happens, I guess. As far as my Story 3, I had a lot of questions regarding my journaling and how I formatted my journaling. So I'm going to take you guys over to my computer and give you guys a quick tutorial in Photoshop.
Okay, so opening up my Photoshop, you can see here is the file of what I created using the digital red felt number 3. So I'm in a new document. This is sized 11 by 8.25. I do have just a white background, and I have already added on there as well that red number 3. And this is, I believe, pretty much sized to it's the correct size of the physical. So first I'm going to do for this document, I'm going to set up a new guide layout. And I personally like to use a guide layout just so that way I know like where my hole punches are going to go, and I'd like to have everything a little bit even. So I did that 0.6 for all around the page, and then I'm adding another vertical guide. And I think I put that at 1.8 here. So then some of the next step I'm doing, I grabbed my pen tool and I am dragging from point to point. So part of how I'm getting this line straight, I'm holding the shift key while I do this. So you're going to see me keep going up. And now as I go around, these are going to look a little wonky. I'm just dragging and following that line around the 3, and then we will curve them. There is also the curvature pen tool. Sometimes I use that when I'm going around an object. This way, like I said, there are several different ways that this can be done. Again, to finish that closing off, using the shift key to close it off. Then next, I'm going to grab I believe it's the add anchor point. This is again on the pen tool, and I realize in hindsight my cursor should not have been so bright. So what I'm doing is just clicking on those points and just dragging them, just curving them. Some places I'm adding an additional point in, and that is just to help round things out a little bit more. If I'm not happy where I put one of those additional anchor points, Command Z, Control Z, that is to undo. So just working my way around the whole edge or that perimeter, or the right side of the number 3. And this is to help create that text box. Now, I believe I say this also in the video or coming up here in a minute. These can be done a lot of ways. Sometimes I use Illustrator because that is a program I have on. You can also do this in InDesign. You might be able to do this in Microsoft Word. And I'm sure Canva. I am not familiar with Canva. Kim Hurst would be one of the great ones. She's very proficient with that. And if you reach out to her, I'm sure she could probably help you. So I'm just going to be finishing up, just adjusting those anchor points, just trying to curve the edges out just a little bit more. It's not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with it. When this is done, I'm going to grab the T for my text, and what I am choosing to do with that is it will be typing on a path. So all of my text will be within this box that you see outlined here. So there's my text tool, and then you just hover it inside. See how it's got like a little squiggle line, and there is the text. Then I can go over and change how I prefer not to have hyphenated, and change my fonts and everything else.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on. If you guys have any questions on that, be sure to let me know in the comments below. There are lots of different ways that you can format your shape around objects, such as, you know, this number 3. You can do it in Illustrator. Sometimes I use Illustrator. It depends what I have open. You can do it in InDesign. You may be able to do this in Word as well. I am not familiar with Canva, but Kim Hurst, who is part of this community, would be a great person to reach out to if you're looking for tips or how-tos. So a couple of things. I have already decided to switch out the transparency for my story 6. Before in my album, I was using this one, but because of the pattern paper, I decided for my story 5, I've gone ahead and just pulled over a piece of gold star vellum from my stash. So my plan here is, or I should say I've done a few things. I know in my starting place, and even yesterday, I had mentioned I was considering using these Polaroid chipboard frames. And part of that was because it would have continued on the horizontal shape, or that square shape across the page. Excuse me. I decided to do circles instead. And I am going to frame it out with some of these nested chipboard circles. So what I did for this, I created this in Photoshop, drew a circle, and then I ran these 2 pattern papers through my silhouette. Now, of course, there is a risk, especially when you're doing this using your silhouette machine. I did a practice run and it worked out, and then I just prayed that everything was going to line up. And I'm so happy that it did, because it would have been extremely disappointing since both these papers have gold foil. So my plan, again, is to adhere these on the outside, framing that circle. And then I have my journaling that is going to go underneath. I ended up using the digital version of this prompt page that is from the the numbers scrapbook kit. So I'll be sure to link that for you guys below. I personally ended up doing this because the physical, when I went to print this out, you can see the physical wasn't quite lining up with the digital. Like it was off a little bit. This would be a 7 by 8 1/4, and you can see how further up that is as opposed to this. So rather than just reformatting it all like digitally or trying to move my journaling, I just went ahead and used the digital version. And I printed this out on my XP 15000 on matte premium matte presentation paper, I believe is how it is. Another thing, already prepped, but you guys would have seen this in my starting place, reasons why I love December. So that is part of my journaling, talking all about the reasons I love December. I did correct this. Shout out to Jessica Luther, who caught my spelling mistake. So I redid this. I used gold cardstock and just created this custom title and cut it out back so it would be back to back. My plan then in this circle is to use some vellum stars. Now these are part of I think these were part of a travel release, but I know this year's December Stories by the Month also had vellum stars, so maybe look in your stash. So what I'm thinking here, I'll just show you guys first, is that these will get adhered, and this is going to be sandwiched between, and then this will be floating. Now, a couple of things. I could, one, adhere these back to back and just do a little ribbon. This is some DMC floss. Just do that in the center so that way it's a little floating, and then maybe put the number on it. This would be behind the star, obviously. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm gonna let me grab, I think I have just a piece of transparency here, because when I adhere this, I want to make sure that it's center. We'll tell you what, how about we trim stuff out first? I feel like I'm not thinking properly. It's a Monday, correct? I think at least when I'm filming this, it's a Monday. Feels so foggy today. Woke up with this wicked headache I can't seem to shake, but that's life right now. So I am going to trim this out here on my trimmer. Again, this is sized 7 inches wide by 8 1/4, which is really close to the dimensions of outside the page protector. And then on the back side of this, I also have a photo from a past December that I wanted to include. I'm really, really missing the snow and the weather, and I think I said in a previous video, just feeling extremely reflective. So just looking for an opportunity. You know, for me in my albums, I don't, how do I say that? Not all the photos for me have to have been taken specifically this December. You know, it's a great opportunity to bring in photos from previous years that maybe you never used, or photos from the past. And so I'm definitely trying to do that then this year, of bringing this in. Okay, so finished trimming this out. I love the red barn. That feels like so New England. Yeah, ready to go back and visit New England. That is for sure. That is where our hearts are, definitely. Okay, so this will be the back side of this. I think I need to trim my paper, change my trimmer, my guide, my cutter, whichever, my blade. There we go. I'm gonna get started here. It's gonna be adhering, assembling. I'm gonna put you guys on fast forward. There might be a little music here and there, and I'll come on and explain, and then do a wrap up when everything is finished.
Getting started here, the first thing I will be doing is adhering that full page photo to the back side of my journaling, where it says the prompts, let me count the ways. I was trying to decide where I wanted that title to go, if I want it in between the two pieces of pattern paper. Sorry, my head's getting in the way here a little bit, but I decided to put it between the journaling and the photo. And of course, I blame it on a Monday. I couldn't decide, or had to remember which way it was going, and peeled it off and put it back on a couple different times. It's a Monday, everybody, just bear with me. So adhering those back to back, then I'm going to grab over my 6-hole punch here in just a second and punch the holes. I also have to grab over, this time I ended up using my X-Acto knife to trim a little bit of the excess off with a ruler. You see my desktop. It doesn't bother me to just do that right in the dead center. So grabbing over the back side, or that would be the red pattern paper, putting that on top just so I can kind of see where the center is, and putting adhesive down. And then I'm going to be stringing through that DMC floss and adding the vellum star on it, and doing this to the back side as well. Now, I'm not going to lie, for some reason, I struggled today trying to get these to line up and getting them to be dead center, and I was just struggling. So I spared you guys some of that. You didn't have to see me like 2-3 minutes to struggle with it. So adhering now that green leaf or branch, fern, whatever you want to call it, pattern paper on top, making sure things line up. And next I am pulling over that Barely Arts glue. I really like how that works. And yesterday was the first time that I used that on that shaker pocket, and you can't even see it. So using the fine tip here and just going around the circle to add a little bit of glue, then I will be adhering that to the pattern paper, to that circle, to frame out that circle. I got a little bit of excess glue here and there. I just grabbed over my microfiber cloth and wiped that off, and it seemed to not be an issue at all. So going to do that again on the front side. And then the last step in the process after this will be adding the number 5. What I decided to do here is go through my different 5s. I was looking for something small and picked out that puffy gold number that was included in this year's main kit. I considered only doing it on the front and adding a star on the back side, but ultimately I put it on both sides because I figure if the page spins when you're turning it, that way it just keeps it consistent and you'll know that it is number 5.
Okay, so wrapping up, you saw me struggle a little bit with getting that star centered, and I cut out some of that so you don't have to see it, but trying to get the string or that floss to stay center, and then also to get the stars adhered kind of in the center. So sometimes things come together a little bit easier. Sometimes my hands are really sticky. Anyway, I am thinking I might actually just leave the direction of this, and part of it I might need to see when I swap out the paper, but I actually I really like that you see that little 5 on there, and I'm okay with it's a bunch of red, you know, there's green and green. I don't know. We'll see when it comes to it. So the back side, I have a couple of things here just to finish this one up. And I will share my journaling with you guys here in just a second. So I believe, spoiler alert, I believe this was part of the Advent calendar this year. It's some of the lyrics from Christmas songs, like smile, like something wonderful bound to happen. Like, so I'm offering this simple phrase for the holidays, you can't beat home sweet home. So several of those. So I'm considering this one. I like this one too. Just like the ones I used to know. I mean, that is so true. You know, especially if I swap though, that green over there, you'd have a great triangle of green, green, and green. So I think I'm going to go with this one. The other thing I had pulled over was remembering past holiday seasons. This is several years old from one of the December daily releases. It was the phrase chipboard, word phrase chipboard. But I think we're going to go with this one. And I'm not sure if this is going to be too wide. It's like just there. So I don't know. We'll try it on the back and then see how it goes. Let's get some scissors here. Definitely creating messiness today. So I'm going to pull this over to the side. Here. I'm just going to try to see if I can, it seems to match pretty well. I'm trying to make sure I get it entirely on that phrase. That way I don't have any stickiness like happening when on this page. So, okay. Now, recently someone told me to try to use my craft pick for this. So I'm going to see how well that works. I at least created a slit in it. That works really well. All right, so now I just need to decide where I want to put this. I really liked it kind of down here. Oh, whoopsie. Well, it looks like it's probably gonna go in the center. Oh, merd. Okay, well, I guess it's going in the center now. Shoot, Kasha, shoot. I could always, like, when those mistakes happen, if it's really bad, there have been times where I will reprint the photo, but I'm just going to try to embrace it like it is. So it should have been lower, but I'm okay with that. We'll leave it be. So that is a wrap for my story 5. As I explained in the beginning, cut out a couple circles from some of the pattern paper that was part of this year's main kit. Some of it might have been from the add-on kit. I'm not sure. I'll double check and look on that. Using those nested chipboard circle frames to create a little border, adding some DMC floss. Now when I see it, it's looking a little crooked. But yeah, and a couple of vellum stars, a number 5. All of my reasons why I love December. And then a photo on the back that's from Christmas past in Connecticut. So I'll share my journaling with you guys here and then tell you a little bit about my plans for tomorrow. This is pretty just, I would say it's just free form, just loose thoughts, some of the scrambled thoughts. Definitely not as more of my, it's still a story, but not the paragraphed and phrased in such a manner, and I'm okay with that. I think there's room for all of it in our stories. I love December because of the food. I do not have a sweet tooth as much as I prefer sour and salty, but in December it seems to come out. Peppermint bark, chocolate turtles, sugar cookies, gingerbread. Peppermint mocha is my coffee for the season. I also love drinking Palais de Thé, tea number 25, because it smells like Christmas in a cup. I love that we have seafood on Christmas Eve, gravlax being my absolute favorite. And on Christmas Day, we have steak. I love December because of the traditions. The tradition of putting up the fake tree Thanksgiving weekend. The tradition of making our own tree skirt with aluminum foil, lights, and tulle. The tradition of going to the tree lot to pick out our perfect for us real tree. The tradition of stockings hung by the fire. The tradition of mailing out Christmas cards. The tradition of baking sweets for our neighbors. The tradition of new cozy Christmas pajamas. The tradition of driving around to look at lights. The tradition of opening one gift on Christmas Eve. the tradition of going to Grandma and Grandpa Gage's on Christmas Day, the tradition of giving and receiving. I love December because of the snow. Oh, the glorious snow, how I miss you so. Everything is more magical when it snows. The Christmas in the air and bundling up with layers, a scarf and hat and boots. I miss wearing the hats and scarves. Watching the flurries come down while curled up on the couch of the good book, making fresh footprints after an evening snowfall. Standing outside and catching snowflakes on near tongue. Building snowmen and downhill skiing. There is nothing better than snow in December. I love December because of the Christmas movies. Since I was a kid, I've been just a little bit obsessed. A few of my favorites are the classics. It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, A Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Home Alone. I also love some of the newer movies too. Elf, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, The Holiday, The Man Who Invented Christmas, Claus, and Noel. For 10 plus years, Hallmark Channel has been the place to binge watch all of the holiday movies. Their best movie lineup, in my opinion, was 2015 to 2017. This year, I've only watched a couple of the Hallmark movies. I'm not sure what's happened, but the quality of their content has rapidly declined over the past couple of years. Let me just say that I'm not trying to upset anyone with saying that. I just personally have found that I have not enjoyed the Hallmark movies like I used to. I may be in the minority. I still tune in and watch. I love all the cheesy rom-coms, but anyway, I just wanted to add that disclaimer. I love December because some of my best childhood memories are from Christmas. My earliest memory is the year Mom and Dad separated. He was living with Grandma and Grandpa Gage at the time. I remember I woke everybody up at 5 a.m., running down the stairs full of excitement. Santa had come, leaving an array of presents under the tree and eating the cookies and drinking the glass of milk on his way out. I remember I got the tourist Barbie and a Barbie locker. I also got a giant pink bunny. Not sure why a bunny, but it was awesome. So like I said, just, some rambling thoughts all together. Could keep going on about why I love December, why I love the season. But this, I like how this page turned out. And, now thinking about it, I might actually keep those photos there, but I will be swapping out the paper. So my plan for tomorrow, for story 6, I will be using, at least as of now, this piece of, it was a pattern paper. It has the word remember on it. It was a full 11 by 8 1/4, but I trimmed it down to 7 by 8 1/4, or excuse me, 7 by 8 1/4. And then I have a piece of star vellum. So I'm not sure where the 6 will go. The other thing I'm planning for tomorrow is to use this full page of stamping. The idea or the challenge came from prep day this year, so I'll be incorporating that in somehow. Again, kind of things I kind of like, just thinking about this ahead of time. Like I like that you have the 3, a little bit of cohesiveness of the red across. I like you have gold and some gold there and gold here. That you have the triangle of the green. So the back side, I am thinking I will add a photo. I could also do another full page of words or do another pattern paper, but I'm thinking I'm going to do a photo on that one. So that is a wrap for today. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And tomorrow I do plan to add in a video that just shows my first step of my Lightroom workflow. So you guys will be able to see that too. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great day.